How y'all doing? I'd like to welcome you to Pause and Play NOLA podcast across the river. Now, maybe y'all seen the art studio in the last video when we interviewed Chef. And now we have a very special distinguished guest that we're going to interview today on Pause and Play NOLA podcast across the river. And we're going to talk with the First Lady. So many of you have heard the First Lady in the videos. So now you're going to see some of the behind the scenes work that the First Lady does on her YouTube channel and her TikTok channel and her business. So could you tell us the name of your business, please, First Lady?
The name of the business is Resonating Creations, LLC.
All right. Resonating Creations, LLC. And what do you do at Resonating Creations, LLC?
I make pieces out of resin, different pieces.
Now, can we watch you make these resin creations anywhere on social media?
On YouTube, there are times when you can see it from beginning to end.
Okay. And do you post any of your artwork on YouTube?
I post them on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook.
So tell us your YouTube name.
My YouTube is NOLA Resonating Creations, LLC.
All right. NOLA like NOLA? NOLA?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Thank you. And what about on TikTok?
TikTok, I think, is Resonating Creations.
Okay. And IG?
It's the _ resonating _ creations _.
Okay. And I appreciate you explaining that. So you could check out Resonating Creations work on YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram.
And Facebook.
And Facebook. So if they were to go on NOLA Resonating Creations LLC, they'll be able to get the rest of your social media platforms off of that?
They should.
Okay. Thank you, baby. So now I just want to know for the people, how did you get started with resin? Resin art particularly.
I started because I wanted to make something for a group of people that we were getting together with. And so after looking up different things of trying to do, I saw some resin work being done and I decided to try it. And so that's what I did. I started with just making something small, a small project such as
lapel pin?
The lapel pins for those that were in the group.
Okay. So show us with your little vase. Show us the vase. Okay. Twirl it around.
This was something I made recently, and it's a little flower vase, or you could use it as a pin holder.
Show us your name on the bottom.
And on the bottom, it says handmade by
closer.
Resonating Creations, and the email on the bottom is how you can get in touch with me if you do not have social media.
Yep. Yeah, because you have a shop, right?
I have an Etsy shop.
Are you on Marketplace?
I also sell some things on Marketplace, yes.
Okay, so they can find you on Marketplace, they can find you on Etsy, and they can find you on social media.
Yes.
Okay, cool. Thank you for showing that. And so you explained already how you got started with resin work. Now, if you could, explain the differences in what makes resin work complicated.
As far as...
Just stick with the resin, for example.
As far as the resin goes, it's very temperamental, so you have to measure it exactly, whether you are measuring it in a measuring cup or some resins require you to do it by weight, but it has to be exact.
So if you are one of those people that have no discipline, don't waste your money. Just call Resonating Creations and let them make whatever you want to make. If you want to learn how to make resin pieces, resin art, you can learn how to do it too. But resin is very
Finicky.
finicky. Thank you, baby. Now, also, there are two types of resins that you use, right?
I can do UV resin or epoxy resin.
So UV resin and epoxy resin. What's the difference?
UV resin is, it has to be more clear, so you can't always use a lot of color in it. You have to be very careful with it because a UV light, it's made to harden under a UV light.
Mm-hmm.
And in order for it to penetrate through the entire piece,
Mm-hmm.
it has to be able to get through
All of it. So it has to
all of
be.
it. So you can put color in it, but you have to be careful about how much color and how thick you put it into a mold,
Right.
or
Okay.
it's not gonna, the
Set properly.
outside will harden, but then the inside will be very squishy.
Okay. Thank you, baby. So now we want to know exactly what can you do with resin from an art standpoint. What are some of the things you can create with resin? I know you have a lot of molds.
It's unlimited because even if you have a mold that's made for one thing, you can actually use that same mold to make something else. Like I have tray molds,
You have any examples on the table you want to show?
but
If you want to just pick
not,
them up and put them in front of the camera.
um,
So y'all already saw the vase.
I have to get that one over there.
Oh yeah.
This one's not finished, but this is actually supposed to be a tray. But I am
It's perfect.
making it. I have to put a top coat on it to seal everything in.
Mm-hmm.
But I plan on putting pieces in it where you can hang it on a wall. So even though this is a tray,
Yeah.
I'm using it for something
As
different
wall art. Okay.
as wall art.
So I got another question. Show the coasters.
I made these coasters.
Yep.
This is the holder for the coasters.
Get back, pause back. The dogs are all in ya. Yep.
And then I made each individual
Mm-hmm.
coasters to with flowers.
And that's real flowers inside the coasters, correct?
No, this one is flower pieces, stickers. I'm sorry, it's flower stickers. So each one has a different flower design on it. Ooh.
Leave it there. So you make the stickers yourself?
No, I usually get them, and then they all fit inside of the
Now,
thing.
now show the people the layer of resin in each coaster that you have.
So
Yeah.
as you can see, I started with a color mixture resin, and I had to wait for this to harden. And that took about 24 hours where it was hard enough for me to add a sticker to it. And once I added the sticker, then I was able to add a final layer of clear resin
Yeah.
on top. So you can
So
still see the sticker and the
so
color.
resin is not a fast process at
It's
all.
not.
It's very temperamental to weather. Grab that little piece right there. Yep. It's very temperamental to weather, and on top of that,
Yeah, it has to be. It has to be in the 70s.
and it also has the potential of having bubbles. So
Yeah.
when you're mixing a resin, you have to make sure that you don't incorporate too much air by going too fast mixing it, and even when you pour it. But show us what you got.
And after you pour it, there are ways to try to pop the bubbles to make sure. You can use a heat gun, or
Rubbing alcohol.
rubbing alcohol, but it has to be 90% or above. And even then, you have to be careful because some epoxy resin, if you use alcohol, it does pop the bubbles, but then it leaves a film that looks crazy. So you have to be careful and know which resin you're using what for. So on those, I would have to use the heat gun so that it wouldn't, the alcohol wouldn't mess the resin. And this was, well, is a bookmark
in the making.
I just didn't put the piece right here,
The
but
tassel?
but I am trying to think of something. I want to make it personalized, so I'm trying to think of like words.
Hey, like pause and play Nola.
Yeah, on here, and
How
I'm
thick
gonna
it
put
is?
one final. It's not too thick.
Look a little thick
It
to me.
is. It is thicker than a paper
But I mean,
bookmark,
it's a nice resin.
but it's not.
You
It's
should
not
put
too bad. You can stick it in a book, and it's not too
you should
bad.
put Florida Marlins on it or something like that. It looked like a beachy or a
Mm,
cloudy kind of The
yeah.
Simpsons, you know. But anyway, so with the stickers, like I told everybody in the last episode, that you were the mastermind for our ski, all of the stickers that are on it. So you can even make custom stickers.
Yes.
Yeah.
I didn't make those. I did buy those because those are specialty stickers.
Hold on. You didn't make what?
The
We're talking
stickers
about the jet ski
the stickers on the
coasters. Yeah, we're
coasters.
not talking about those.
But the stickers on the ski board and on his signs, I did make those stickers.
Yeah. So all of those stickers were custom made. Cooking Kiev, Shez Cuddy Fam 1, Resonating Creations, Bad Cook 81, Shots, Pints, Pours, Nola. They were all custom made. And how do you make those stickers?
I have a silhouette machine that
A silhouette? What's that?
it's just like a Cricut.
What's that?
A Cricut is a cutting machine that most people are very familiar with. It can cut vinyl, it cuts paper, it cuts it into shapes or words or whatever you need it to. Sometimes you can even write stuff using a pen, and the Cricut will write for
So,
you in whatever font you want.
so did you, the t-shirt you made with that famous hamburger that ended up being a comedian, you printed that out on a silhouette?
No, I printed that out on a computer on printable vinyl paper,
Okay.
and I got the silhouette to cut the
So,
image.
okay, so hand me that right there in your hand. Now hand me that shirt on that TV right there and show them that shirt. Now that's some of the best work you made. Now go to the left a little bit. Okay, go forward. Now, First Lady, explain how you made this shirt. Excuse
This
me, the sticker. Your arm blocking the sticker. Yep.
the
Now turn it around to the front. Yep.
the red sticker for the YouTube, I had to print that on vinyl, on printable vinyl.
Yeah, that's good.
And the rest of the words, the pause and play NOLA, was printed after I inputted the font and the words that I wanted into the computer. And then I sent it from the computer to the silhouette, and the silhouette printed out the words.
Okay, now.
And
So,
then
so if you want a custom shirt, talk to Resonating Creations at gmail.com and you could get a custom
LLC.
shirt. That's fine. They have your info. And you could get a custom shirt made for your YouTube channel. Also, if you want to get a plaque, I know you see the plaques in the back. Pause and play NOLA. Or if you want a serving tray, or if you want a marquee piece for your YouTube channel, where do they find you at?
NOLA Resonating Creations LLC.
Yep. And how do they email you?
At resonatingcreationsllc@gmail.com.
That's right. Resonating Creations LLC at gmail.com. So if you want anything created, resin art, or even like show them this piece right here.
This was actually, it's like a soap dish or a trinket dish, whatever you want to use it for. And again, this was in layers. This was done first because the mold is like this. So all this was
The
first.
glitter?
The glitter was first, and then I added the final color at the bottom. But then once it was finished, I decided I wanted to add some words to it. So again, I used my Cricut, my silhouette, to make this sticker and put "You are enough." And so now I had to put, after it was down, I had to put one more layer of resin to make sure that that stayed in there.
All right. So one thing to keep in mind, this is custom artwork. Hand that little no, right there. Yeah. Now next time you get an Irish Spring bar, you got the soap holder. And it has a soap saver. You see those little 3 lines right there? It has a soap saver because that keeps the soap out of water. That's pretty cool, man. Flip the backside of it. So you could email First Lady at resonatingcreationsllc@gmail.com. What is that R3 for?
That is for me to keep track of my inventory.
Yeah, so everything is inventoried. That way, if you see a custom piece that you want, you can order it without it being sold to someone else.
And if you look on my Etsy page, I usually try to put that number, whatever my inventory number is, as part of the selection.
Okay.
So this way I know I'm giving the person the right
piece.
The right piece.
And that's a real good way of staying organized. Now show them that piece that gave you the blues. Remember that you made 5, 6, 7 of them? Yeah.
So this was a custom order that somebody ordered from me. It is a little jar with a carousel jar. And they wanted red horses. And I kept trying and trying, even red.
Red wasn't red.
Mica, red would turn purple. So I made this piece at least 5 times, and every time I'd choose a different red, it kept coming out purple. It was very frustrating because the customer wanted it to be red. And I finally found
the secret,
the perfect thing that was going to do the trick. And so I finally, after 6 tries, got the red.
All right. So that little carousel piece is really nice. You could put trinkets and doodads and all kind of other whatnots in it. Now, yeah, show them that piece. I think that's really cool.
This is another vase. They're really tiny. They're really cute for smaller amounts of flowers, but they can spruce up any shape, any space.
And they also have the ability, like you're saying, to be...
Yeah, and you can use it as a pencil holder or a makeup. If you have makeup brushes, you can use this to keep track of your makeup brushes as well. It can be used for anything. It is a flower vase, but I mean, you can use your imagination. There's so many things you can use it for.
You can put your toothbrush in it.
Yeah, your toothbrush.
Or whatever you want. Hold that vase back over you. And just to give you an idea of scale, it's about 4 inches tall. So just to give you an idea. Now, could you show them the little heart right there? These are really cool.
These are 2 that I've made recently. This is a yellow one, and then I have this blue one it's kind of clear with blue, a little bit blue mica powder in it.
Looks like space dust. Yeah.
And these are really cute for like keeping your rings. Like if you washing dishes and you don't, or taking a bath and you don't want to just leave your rings anywhere, or if you take your earrings out at night but it's your favorite pair of earrings, it's good to just put them in something like that and keep them in one spot.
Now this is a very unfinished piece right here. It's not finished, but First Lady makes these hearts, And so we make them for wedding anniversaries. We also make them for, I'm saying we. She also makes them for funerals. So like sometimes a person will die, and
Normally, I would put a picture of them in
yeah,
here. This one's not done yet.
yeah, we'll put a picture of them in here and give it to the family. But if you want to order something like that for your loved one, and they could check out pictures you have of other ones you've made, correct?
Yes, on my Etsy shop.
Yeah, and it's a nice way to remember your loved one. And also, we've made quite a few of them. And when we go to the funeral, we'll take a flower or two, and we'll put the flower in the heart, in the resin heart, and so just something to think about when you visit the shop. Also, could you show them that other heart and explain that?
And also, everything in my Etsy shop you can buy right out of the Etsy shop, but anything you see can be custom made. So you would just have to message me, and I would be able to make it
Yeah.
custom. And this heart was just something I was experimenting with. I love butterflies. And so sometimes we also use these to give for anybody who's a wedding anniversary or anything. And I may put their picture in this heart that's hanging, and I may put some flowers or some kind of
Or another
design
picture.
or a picture or words
Yeah.
in this part. But it sits on this thing
So
right
take it a
here.
loose, please.
It does come
Yeah.
apart, and then this also can come off.
Yeah. It
But
detaches and attaches.
yeah.
So it's just a custom piece. And
But anything can go in here. If you have a picture you want to put of somebody, special words,
yeah,
you know,
a logo.
yeah, anything.
And if you look at the detail, you see the swirls in there.
Those don't come naturally.
Yeah,
Those
that's all hand done.
has to be made, and it has to be done at the right time. Because if you don't do it at the right time, it won't come out like that.
And
It takes a
also,
lot of time to do that.
also, each piece is going to be nominal. It'll be different
Yeah,
because you cannot replicate nature that way.
no, resin is too unpredictable. You can't make the same. Even if you have the same colors and the same, you try to make the same design, it will not come out the same. You will always have a very unique piece, no matter what.
Now, one of the things I must say, it doesn't happen often, but it may happen. We have a beautiful husky, and this husky is part of the family, and this husky is part of Resonating Creations. It's part of Pause and Play NOLA. And with that being said, you may order a custom piece and have a piece of husky hair that wants to become part of that custom piece too. So I just want to caution you that it has happened, and most people understand, they don't mind, but
And I do try to drill them out if I see them, depending on the piece. So it is possible for me to drill them out, and I do drill them out for my customers as much as possible, but there may be
an
imperfection that winds up staying there. There may be a
nick,
a hair that I can't get to, but usually
it
doesn't take away from the piece.
Correct. So these pieces are what they are. Show them your notebook, please.
The notebook I made recently, it goes like this.
They can see it. Yep.
And so it's a resin notebook.
And you can also put a sticker on that notebook for a name, a passage.
Yeah, if you want, yeah, if you want it custom made, you can. I would have to add words to it.
That's not a problem.
That you want. I actually did one for a friend of mine. She lost her puppy, and she had winded up getting a new puppy. So I actually made one just like this for her, and I put her puppy, the puppy that died, with his name, and the new puppy with his name. And
That's good.
so I gave that to her for.
Now we want to show the people your studio. So you don't have to get up and get in the camera again, but you could explain just some of your tools that you may need if you want to get into resin making. So if I want to get into resin making, what would be a good place to start, and what would be a good thing as far as a tool standpoint that I would need, like latex gloves, baby wipes,
You
resin.
definitely need, first of all, resin.
What
You
kind?
need, it's up to you.
Well, that's what I'm asking.
If
What's
you
a
want
good
to,
place to start?
UV resin is easier to work with as long as you know.
But you'll need a UV resin light.
But you need a UV resin light. And it's easier to start with as long as you know not to put too much color in it, or if you do it in really, really tiny intervals.
And don't make a big piece.
Yes, you don't want to make big pieces. And you
Okay.
can't make really big pieces with UV resin unless you have like a huge UV resin thing. But also with UV resin, if you're going to start with that, you need white molds. You don't want a mold that's colored. Sometimes molds come in pink or blue. You don't want those if you're doing UV resin. It
Why?
has to be a clear, it has to be a white resin.
Why is that?
Because the resin won't get through. Because when you do it in the UV light, under the UV light, you have to do one side in the UV light, and then when that finishes, you have to flip it upside down so that you can get the bottom of the piece.
And it'll still be in the mold.
And it's still in the mold, so you have to flip it. So if you have a pink or blue mold,
the light won't
penetrate. So it has to be a white mold if you're gonna do UV resin.
Okay. All right. Thank you for explaining that. So what is a good resin piece to do for your first resin piece?
I would say earrings, or like these, you get a mold that's about this size, but you get with a whole bunch of little round, it's a mold that has like 6 round size pieces like that. Those are good because they're smaller pieces, and it's not, if you mess up, you're not throwing away a whole lot of resin.
Okay. Thank you so much. Now, what are the costs for the supplies? What costs the most money?
The epoxy resin definitely costs the most money.
It costs more than the molds?
Yes.
Okay.
Because especially if you want a good type of resin, you don't want too cheap of a resin, but sometimes you can't afford the really high-end resins. But even at the middle, you're going to pay at least $70 for a gallon of resin, which is going to come in a half a gallon of part A and a half a gallon of part B to make 1 gallon. So the resin itself is definitely the most expensive. The molds, you can get expensive ones, but the places that I get my molds, they are pretty reasonable, and they last me a while. But you can get some molds that will be over $100.
Okay. Yeah, I remember when the bow tie molds. How much did the bow tie molds cost?
The bow tie mold, I want
Like
to
$30?
say, yeah, it was about $20, and it wasn't even a big mold, but it is a very heavy duty mold.
Yeah, okay.
But that's the most expensive mold I have, is my bow tie molds, because they did cost about $30 something.
And I believe the guy who makes molds, he had to make them too. He didn't
Yeah.
have a actual mold. He had to engineer it and make it. So it's definitely a wonderful craft, making resin art. And if you're interested in making resin art, just reach out to the First Lady and she could walk you through it. Also, you could check out some of her videos on her YouTube, TikTok, Instagram. And most of the time in those videos, she'll be showing you something that she's making, and you can listen to some music while she's making it. I'm trying my best to get her to come live so that you can learn how to do it live and ask questions, but I don't want to mess up her feng shui. So, but it's something we're going to work towards. And also, if you're really serious about wanting to get into resin, we might even do like a Zoom workshop. That way we could see you, you could see us, to be able to learn how to do it. So if you were just starting out in resin for the first time, what would you tell yourself now with all the experience you have?
Just to slow down and really find out all that's involved. Because when I started, I read one or two things about the resin. So then I thought I knew what I was doing until I started doing it. And I still would have messed up a lot, but I probably wouldn't have messed up as much if I would have just stopped and slowed down and took my time.
But you also paid your tuition. You paid for your learning. And that makes you have the edge because you've been there, done that, and you got the t-shirt. So I just wanted to take a few minutes to let y'all talk with First Lady and learn a little bit about what she does with the resin art. And this is a portion of the studio. And so it's one of those little workstations that I'm not allowed to go in because there's over 3 billion pieces of trinkets and whatnots and doodads that's over y'all. And I'm not allowed to be over there. And that's fine by me.
And I just want y'all to know it's in the process of being organized. So it doesn't always look like that.
I don't see nothing wrong with it. But at the same time, it's not my workstation either. So I just wanted to let y'all know that. But also, do you have anything you want to tell the people in closing?
Not really. Just if you try it, just have fun with it and know you're gonna make mistakes and you just be okay with that.
Yep. So you heard it from the First Lady yourself. Now I'm going to tell you a little secret. First Lady is a wonderful painter also. She does regular water paint pictures. She also does oil paintings. And so she's multi-talented as an artist and a craftswoman. So it's an amazing skill to have. And if you have kids and they're interested in painting, let them paint. Or just give them a canvas and let them go. But one thing I do want to say, and I'm going to let First Lady answer this question, because we didn't talk about it really, but now I'm thinking about it. Are there any hazards associated with resin?
Yes, the important thing is anytime you deal with resin, even if it is just UV resin, it's not as bad, but still, any resin you use, you always want to have gloves because it's very hard to get that stuff off and it can be toxic to your skin. And you always want to have a respirator and glasses, safety glasses, so that if something happens, nothing splashes in your eye. And you want to have a respirator so that you're not Even though most epoxy resins have low fumes or no fumes, it's still, you don't want that, you don't want to be breathing that in. So
Okay.
it's very important to have the right PPA,
PPA?
personal protection equipment.
PPE. Thank you.
PPE. Oh yeah, my bad.
It's all good. So I want to thank y'all for watching this episode of Pause and Play NOLA podcast across the river. And I also want to thank the First Lady for being a guest on the podcast. And I'm going to have to figure out a way to blot her out so y'all don't see her. So if you never see this podcast, that's because I couldn't blot her out.
My bad.
It's all good. So thank y'all for watching. Thank y'all for tuning in. And just remember, like I always tell you, y'all come back now, you hear?